Worker strikes continue all across the USA, so luckily the Democrat Party, who are in government, are the party of ordinary people. And that's why the Democrat Party are supporting the ordinary workers in their struggle against corporations. No, that's not what's happening. Here we are, just 4.5 million plucky souls making our way through life. If you find yourself in the UK between January and May next year, come see me live. I'm performing all over the show. You'll like it, you'll enjoy it. For now though, let's get into this issue. People are losing interest in work because I suppose we're recognising en masse that the culture has got very little to offer us. Why should people grind out an unfortunate and unhappy living in a job they hate, knowing that there's no meaning or purpose in it? That's sort of a personal take on it. Let's see what it says in this article by Hamilton Nolan in these times. We're told that Joe Biden is the most pro-Labour president in decades. That's the way these things work, isn't it? You just get told stuff. Him? Well, he's the most pro-Labour president in decades. He'll be supporting workers then? Not necessarily. But looking to the Democratic Party for salvation is a surefire for the Labour movement to continue getting nowhere. The Democratic Party is not one unified thing, but a very loose collection of many disparate things united only by our nation's poor two-party design. When an election comes around, you're presented with a reductive vision. This is the Democrat Party, the supporters of ordinary people, the potential slayers of Trump, an opportunity to move forward into a new utopia. But actually, it's a bunch of individuals, many of whom we know for a fact have loads of corporate interests, are getting lobbying money, are speculating on the stock market, potentially using information gleaned from while they're in Congress. So there is no one thing called the Democrat Party. In fact, there's no cohesive vision, is there? What ultimately happens when they're in power is the power just bends them into the direction that power tends to move in anyway. So they're kind of largely irrelevant. So posing Joe Biden as a pro-Labour president is obviously nothing more than rhetoric. It's not an easy time for unions in America. The law is tilted against them. Major victories are rare. Inspiration is at a premium. Democrats claim to understand this. During the pandemic-racked year of 2020, there was no more important or inspiring union story than the effort to unionize an Amazon warehouse in Bessemer, Alabama. It represented an attempt to crack the most influential and powerful and anti-union company in the nation. Whatever you think about unions, it's interesting that the most powerful company in America is anti-union. That suggests, even with just a cursory glance, that in order to generate huge profits and institutionalize and accumulate power, you have to control the interests of your workers. You have to limit the interests of your workers being met. You have to prevent them unionizing and having a collective power, because that's the only way their interests could ever be represented. Where the battle to organize workers will have a ripple effect on what the future of work looks like across the country in decades to come. Though the union lost that election, the company cheated and another election will be held. Amazon, famously in that election, deployed all sorts of tactics, like putting the voting booths, I think, next to a shark tank, or at least in the parking lot where you were like exposed to people. I just want to post my vote. Well, as long as you can get past that shark, you can have your democracy. Last week, we learned that former President Barack Obama's foundation has accepted a $100 million donation from Amazon boss Jeff Bezos. So even if you were optimistic about Barack Obama having a foundation and it's going to do literacy programs and it's going to represent a diverse group of interests and it's going to be really fair, $100 million of funding has come from Jeff Bezos. So Jeff Bezos probably, I'm guessing, I don't know, won't pay tax on that, and there will be influence. It's a trifling sum for Bezos, who has made more than $100 billion while doing everything possible to ensure that his hundreds of thousands of workers are unable to organise to improve their own lives. I think it's absurd and obscene that Jeff Bezos was shooting up to space on the old cock rocket while ensuring that the people that work for Amazon have a kind of life of basically indenture, and that they're unable to have their interests represented collectively. There it is, Earth, with all my indentured workers. Hey, stop that! Stop unionizing! How do you carry those two ideas simultaneously, the endeavour of space exploration, while having regressive, oppressive attitudes towards workers here on Earth? The donation was reportedly arranged by Jay Carney, Obama's former press secretary, who is now Amazon's spokesperson. What? You used to work for Obama, now works for Amazon? What a crazy coincidence! Who spoke out against the union drive in Alabama. Bezos specifically asked that the donation be earmarked to build a plaza in honour of recently deceased congressman and civil rights leader John Lewis. Earmark that. So they'll build a plaza to honour a dead congressman, but not enable actual unions. Check this out. John Lewis was a strong and active supporter of unions. Imagine how meaningful it would have been if Barack Obama had publicly supported the Amazon union drive in Alabama. He didn't though, but he will have a plaza paid for by the guy that's become richer than Rockefeller by crushing Amazon workers. Well, it was a tough old life and I had to go sometime. Let's just see how the old legacy's going down there. Hope they learned my lessons of solidarity and humanitarianism and the rights of all men to live collectively and earn an honest income. What's that? A fucking plaza! Obama! What's that? A big skycock's coming to fuck us! It's me, Bezos! We're building you a plaza, whether you like it or not. I just want a union! There is another inspiring union drive now happening at Starbucks, which began in Buffalo and is spreading across the country. The billionaire founder of Starbucks, stop me if this sounds familiar, is leading a ruthless anti-union campaign to try and stop his workers from organising. That billionaire founder is named Howard Schultz, and if Hillary Clinton had been elected president in 2016, she was going to name him as her Labour secretary. Hillary Clinton, she's going to be the first female president. The glass ceiling's going to be smashed. Hey! You lot, sweep that glass up. Can we be paid a minimum wage? Not without a fucking union. Joe Biden picked as his own Labour secretary former Boston mayor and union guy Marty Walsh. An establishment pick certainly, but one broadly endorsed by major union leaders. Walsh was the government's top Labour official during a months-long wave of strikes that has garnered much attention and helped to energise public excitement around the potential offered by Labour organising. There have been many inspirational strikes this year, none more hard-fought than that of the United Mine Workers members in Brookwood, Alabama, who have been striking against Warrior Met Coal for nearly 8 months now. Theirs is a tough battle. It is the exact sort of strike that has historically been won when the government helped the union and lost when the government didn't. This is good. Marty Walsh, he'll help. Last week, Marty Walsh went to Birmingham. Oh, well done, Marty. God, for once, a political figure has remembered the values for which they got into politics for in the first place and to stand up for the little guy. He was there to hold a news conference. Good, yeah, tell the world, Marty. Get in there and tell them. Announcing the implementation of an executive order increasing the minimum wage of federal contractors. It would have been a perfect time for him to stop by the picket line at Brookwood, which is right down the road, but he didn't. Oh! In fact, is not stopped by any picket lines. I suppose that would just be a bit too radical for the Secretary of Labour of the most pro-union president of our lifetime during the great strike wave of 2021. It seems ridiculous, actually, that he would, doesn't it? You cannot imagine that. You cannot imagine the image of a political figure siding with ordinary people against corporate interests. Side with ordinary people in an issue that might divide ordinary people against one another, that doesn't negatively affect corporate interests and in fact would be able to be metastasized into more corporatization because the issue won't actually affect the interests of the powerful, then they'll show up and shake hands and put a hat on. But if it meaningfully affects the interests of the powerful, does the Labour movement benefit from more tenuous and disloyal Democratic politicians than from openly hostile and vindictive Republican politicians? Sure. But what beaten down workers really need is not a president who will smile and shake hands with both them and the boss who is beating them down. They need a union president that will shake hands with them and then tell their boss, fuck you, I'm with the union. We aren't likely to see a Democratic president like that anytime soon, so we'd better build Labour power, which does not ask permission. Stop looking for politicians to save us. Go organise some workers so that we can save ourselves. What a wonderful rallying cry. Whether it's through your labour, the work that you rent to the establishment in order to survive, or through some other form of collectivism, we need to begin to organise among one another, form alliances. Notice how this is a divisive time, how it's increasingly hostile. Notice how it's difficult to congregate. Notice how it's difficult to come together. Notice how cultural issues are being turbocharged with venom, that people are divided more than ever in polarised camps when we need to come together more than ever. I believe that a strong union movement can be a healthy part of the necessary change that we require if we're to ever challenge the homogeneous, heterogeneous, meaningless politics that is it seems to me bringing about a new kind of tyranny under the guise of liberal democracy. But that's just what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Give us a like, subscribe, turn on the ding dong bell so I can ring in your mind whenever I need to express a thought. Also, if you like this video, have a look at this one. It's a bit like it. It's similar themes. You'll enjoy this one too. And I suggest you sign up to my Awakening side channel where I teach you personal development techniques, well-being, spiritual stuff. Sign up to my mailing list as well so I can tell you what I'm up to. I'm performing live in England from January to May next year. New dates have been announced. Have a look in the link below. Come see me if you can. Stay free.